Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the THW NHL News and Rumors Rundown. My name is Jim Parsons. I'm here with the HockeyRaiders.com. Before we get into the news of the week in the NHL, just a quick reminder, you can follow us in a couple different ways at the Hockey Raider on Twitter, right down there at the HockeyRaiders.com. All the latest news and rumors and a daily post goes up. And of course, over on Facebook, the Facebook.com/the Hockey Raiders. Okay, we're going to get right into it with some of the biggest stories that we're following this week. You might think that there's not a lot of action in the NHL with everything kind of winding down and free agency over, but there's still lots to talk about. Auston Matthews just underwent successful surgery on his wrist. He's going to be out about 6 weeks. Timeline on that one's probably going to put him right around the start of training camp for the Maple Leafs. While training camp start date hasn't been officially announced by Toronto, it looks like sometime at the beginning of September with their first game in preseason on September 25th. Matthews should be good to go for the season. It's just a matter of how much time he needs in the preseason to get warmed up. But this is a guy who still led all of the goal scorers in the NHL this past season with a bum wrist. So it's probably not too concerning that he's going to miss any real time or have any real impacts based on this injury and the surgery. Speaking of the Maple Leafs and also now the Florida Panthers, Joe Thornton will not be back with the team. He has signed with the Florida Panthers, a one-year, $750,000 deal. He said he didn't really visit Florida much. He hasn't been there a lot, but he's interested and excited about the opportunity to play in Florida. There's a lot going on with the Panthers, including Sam Reinhart and other pieces that have been added to that roster, veteran presence. Some are wondering if maybe this opens the door for a guy like Zdeno Chara from Washington and then formerly of Boston. There's no real indication that Chara's even going to play another season yet, but there's talk that maybe that happens and that Florida could be on his radar. The story out of San Jose with Evander Kane just gets more and more strange. Allegedly, he's been accused of gambling against games that he was involved in and the San Jose Sharks were involved in. He's denied it. The NHL is looking into it. Then there was talk that a lot of teammates have not been really keen on Evander Kane's behavior off ice and on ice. And now there's talk that some players aren't even going to come back to the team if Evander Kane is brought back to the San Jose Sharks this next season. Like if a trade can't be worked out, or the NHL doesn't look into this investigation and find him guilty and suspended or what have you. If the NHL takes care of this problem for San Jose, in some ways, I suppose that's a blessing. But a lot of the players are saying, or at least the rumors are, that they're not going to return. I don't know that these guys are going to walk away from millions of dollars over one guy, but it's certainly possible if this has been going on a really long time in San Jose. And so we'll see if anything comes out of that one. Elias Pettersson made some interesting comments about Vancouver just a few days ago. In speaking with a Swedish newspaper, he kind of talked about, and could be lost in translation a little bit here, that he is interested in signing with Vancouver. He's excited about signing in Vancouver. He's excited about the addition of Oliver Ekman-Larsson, but he's also wanting to play for a contender. He wants to play for a winner, and he just wants a chance at winning, is what he said, which some people took to mean that maybe he's not interested in signing a long-term extension with Vancouver unless they can show that they're going to be a competitive team, which they were not last year. In their defense, a lot happened to that club, including the COVID breakout and things like that. So, will Pettersson sign just a bridge deal? Probably. That's what they were looking at anyway. What does that mean for long term? He says he's not sure if the team's going to be competitive when he goes to sign another extension. So we'll see what he's thinking about there. I wouldn't be too worried about it, though. Elias Pettersson's probably going to be sticking with Vancouver for a while, and Vancouver wants to be a good team, too. It's not like they're not trying. Elias is probably just thinking, I want to stay long-term with a team that's got a shot of being competitive here. Speaking of interesting comments, interesting tactics, Kirill Kaprizov of the Minnesota Wild, there was talk this past week that he had a rumored one-year, $10 million deal on the table from the KHL. That was reported by Frank Seravalli of Daily Faceoff and a couple others like Michael Russo of The Athletic. And then it was reported that that was just a bluff, that there was really nothing to that Kaprizov is not going to the KHL, has no interest in going to the KHL, that he wouldn't leave the NHL, and that Minnesota is actually open to different kinds of terms. A 5-year deal seems to be the most likely. They want 8 years. They want this guy sticking around so he can't just walk into free agency and take off. He wants a shorter term, but he also wants his money. It's a matter of whether or not this gets settled, and it probably will. I can't imagine that Kaprizov's thinking about going to the KHL. I suppose it's a legitimate offer that he could take, but don't expect him to take off. Somewhere here, they're going to figure out a deal probably around 5 years. And David Krejci, could he be back with the Boston Bruins this season? It's possible. Head coach Bruce Cassidy sort of said, yeah, we understand that he wants to go home, play in front of his friends and family in the Czech Republic, but we're not closing the door on Krejci actually returning next season. He could be part of the Boston Bruins' future, and that maybe once he gets it out of his system, so to speak, he might want to return to the NHL. So we'll see if there's a spot there. It looks like the Bruins are going to just fill the center position internally and not go out and try to find somebody else, hoping that maybe Krejci will come back. But they do know that it is possible that this could be a permanent fix, and he might never come back to the NHL. But they're not completely closing the book on Krejci being a Bruin in the future just yet. Finally, Jack Eichel. Is there anything going on here? Not really. The latest is that the New York Rangers might be involved. There was some talk that maybe Mika Zibanejad could be part of that deal. I don't know why the Rangers would necessarily want to do that deal. It's more likely they're going to try to get both guys and see if Buffalo will retain some salary here, but there's really nothing cooking on the Eichel front. A lot of people are actually starting to think that he might actually return to Buffalo if they could figure out this injury situation. So there's really nothing going yet with the Jack Eichel trade speculation, but we'll see if that changes over the next week or so. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Don't forget, check out thehockeyraiders.com. Hit like and subscribe. Get all the notifications on these videos, and we will talk to you guys next week. Have a fantastic one.